right.
I am hitting
Kirklin,
record.
hit record. I'll hit record. Taylor, make sure you use the starting now or starting soon thumbnail.
It's
And
like
then
he
remember,
doesn't even know me at all. We got the starting thing up.
remember last week and you're like, all right, 3, 2, 1, and you're like, starting soon's on.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we just start muted and starting soon.
Be ready in 3 seconds. Okay, we're gonna be
We're not
starting
even
soon.
muted.
Yeah.
We're not even muted.
No, we're
I
live.
can hear us on YouTube. No, see? No. We're supposed to be muted because it's just us. Oh my God. All right. So how it goes, Taylor, is you go 3, 2, 1, and then at 1, right before 0, you turn on the screen to us, and that's when I'm
Oh.
going to do the intro. All right?
Okay.
Give us that countdown.
Okay.
Kirklin, I got a job for you.
Yes.
Every 25 minutes, try to remind me we should throw to an ad break.
Every 25 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, 25 minutes after I throw the first one I'm going to do right before the spoilers, and then after that. So right after I do that. If you forget, it's fine, but that's going to be your job from now on. Timing.
Okay, I'll set a timer. 25.
Okay.
I started it. Starting soon. In 25
All right, Taylor,
minutes.
just count down.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Mandalorian Season 2 review. I'm the Geek vs. Gauntlet champion, Travis Snell.
Ooh. I am the the ghost in the house.
It's back.
Kirklin Patzer.
Again, the door? Why is your house haunted when we do these casts?
Of course, there's like flickering too. Just looks like there's
Yeah.
Amityville Horror.
And then we're joined by...
I am the bounty hunter, Taylor Field.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as always, you can find at all the links below. Taylor, where can they find us on the interwebs?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection. Geekverse.ca is our home base. Find us on our Facebook, Geekverse, and find us on Twitter, Geekversecast, and our Instagram, Geekverse Podcast. Make sure, though, you check us out on our Facebook because we have our fan base poll popping off right now. We just entered into the 3rd round, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I believe it just dropped with Darth Malak, coincidentally Star Wars, versus Ezio from Assassin's Creed, which is a spicy round. So we'll see how that goes.
I swear if Ezio wins, I'm going to throw a bitch fit. Like, I really am. But either way, yes, please go check that out. And like I said, go down the links below. It has everything, our video feeds, our audio feeds. You can tune in when we do this live on video, and you can see Taylor's house haunted. You can go over to Patreon, where we just have a slew of exclusive content. We have ad-free content. We have early content. You can call into some of our shows, request us to do movies, watch movies with us, a whole bunch of tiers just to go check out. This month's exclusive episode, one of them is Jingle All the Way. That one was tons of fun. And because it's Star Wars related, go check out. We also did the holiday special last month. And we're going to be doing it after 9 sometime December, which is going to be Christmas themed, and it's going to be lots of fun. So let's get into some overalls. Taylor Field, I'm going to start with you.
Ooh.
What did you think about Chapter 14? I'm not going to be like Kirklin and say the title and spoil it for all the fans, but even though it is a spoilers review.
Like
but what did
Disney.
you think about Chapter 14, Taylor?
Yeah, so for me, this I was anticipating a filler episode right off the hop. And did we get that? No, this isn't a spoiler, but they just are continuing the story. And that's nothing.
And this is what happened.
There's nothing wrong with that. So I am beyond ecstatic with this episode. I'm just like, everything that they did was just awesome, exciting. There was so much awesome action. And again, like we were talking, Travis, like you could really see Robert Rodriguez, his kind of style shine through by directing this episode. I was getting vibes from like his other works and stuff, I feel like. And
I haven't talked to you in a week.
Yeah.
What's some of his other works?
He produced Predators. He got the Spy Kids movies under his hat.
Directed Predators.
No. What was his name? Antel somebody else directed it.
Is that true that he didn't
See,
direct
I
Predators?
fucking got him. I know my Predator shit. This kid over here. He
directed From Dusk Till Dawn. He directed. So when they did, Kirkland, what is the Kurt Russell Death Proof? Remember when they did that Planet Terror like 2x2 movies when they compared them together? That's Robert Rodriguez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he directed that. Yeah, he has quite a frenetic style. Oh yeah, Taylor's completely right. It's Nimrod Antel.
You don't hear
He
that
knows his
often.
predators.
Yeah.
I was completely, yeah. I shouldn't have questioned him on his predator knowledge, but no, you're completely right. So good for you.
But yeah, this episode just had so much going on, and again, like the most. I'm gonna say this so many times throughout this review, and this is the thing I went and I tweeted right away. Is like someone literally wrote a fanfic for Star Wars, and was like, "Dave and John, I need your money. Let's make this fanfic a reality." And they made the fanfic a reality. They were like, "Okay, we're slapping this fanfic, boom, right into canon," and it was just like, holy crap! Everything I was seeing was just blowing my mind. I could not fathom it. I was on like some Star Wars high during this time, and it was just so unbelievably awesome. And I can't believe that for me, last week's episode could be topped, but what they did in its own different right and perspective and tone and aesthetic topped last week's episode for me. I was just so ecstatically excited, and I have to watch it again and again and again.
Wow, Kirkland Pats, are your thoughts? Are you watching it again and again and again?
I am not going to be watching again and again, but no, I really enjoyed it. I agree with your points, Taylor, how it had like a Star Wars fan fiction like vibe to it. I feel like I wasn't really thinking about it until you were just talking about it now, and I just thinking back on it now. I feel like the location that they're in, it felt very like different than a normal Star Wars location that we're used to seeing, like sand or a planet like that. Yeah, so I definitely agree that just like the filming location of it, I thought it was really unique. I felt like it was a good choice for like an ancient Jedi location. I really liked it. I 100% thought this was just going to be a filler. I remember before starting the episode, I'm like, this is going to be probably a lesser, just maybe going off of how good like the last couple episodes were, I figured that they would slow things down and kind of just give us some filler before we go into more plot. But I was pleasantly surprised that they didn't do that. Without spoilers, I absolutely love the score. I'll mention a specific scene in spoilers, but holy shit, it's so good. Oh my gosh, I just can't wait to listen to. Can you listen to an episode, or is it just like a scene from an episode?
I haven't yet, but last year they released them episode by episode, and I think they still do that. So I think
you should be able to on Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's always just Stellar's score from Ludwig, however you say his name. But I'm just so impressed with what he's doing, and yeah, visually this episode was amazing, and just audioly, that's not a word, but I'm gonna say it.
I think what he does is, because there's just an album for, because what does it say? It says Mandalorian Season 2, Volume 1, Chapters 9 to 12. So it looks like they get released in chunks. So he hasn't released this last week's or this one. So that's what it looks like. They get released in little chunks there. So
yeah, I'm definitely going to be checking that out, though. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I echo all these guys' sentiment that we had talked about, and I'm very excited to get into spoilers, because we had talked about certain things that we thought we were going to have to wait for, and just especially the way the show has been in the past, just meaning season 1, it was always something big happens, okay, we need a week or two to like breathe, and it just is like, oh, we're going to go on a fun little adventure here. But for me, it was fun, but I just always expected more from that from a Star Wars show. As I've been clear since the last week, I think they're on a different path right now. They're on a different scale, and they just continue. Like the first 5 minutes, I was like, holy shit, we're really doing this. And then 5 minutes goes later, and we're like, holy shit, we're really doing this. And then another 5 minutes, like, holy shit, like one moment after another kept hitting and hitting. It felt like, again, just like last week, and even just like the week before, this felt like this could have been the finale. This felt like this could have been the last episode of the season, and I would have been satisfied, like, well, I can't wait for next year. But no, we still got 2 more weeks, and it's just like, now I am getting word for finale, because we had so many good episodes so far between last week and now this week. It's like, how do you top it? But I think I see what the plan is, and we'll get in that. But my only nitpicks I have about this episode is little like it's tough, because I don't want to like it. There's always this argument, right, of Disney, like they don't let directors be who they are, and so I don't want to say that. It just, Rodriguez's style stuck out a lot, and one thing particularly for me was I didn't like the use of the digital camera, because I felt lots of scenes in like the action, and I think there's some good touches, like him using slow-mo, or there's like times where characters like whip their head, like that's a very like, okay, he's very flashy and whatnot, but there's just these times where the cameras they used when they were outside looked a little fan filmy, and it looked different than the rest of the show's ever been. But then at the same point, people would counter and go, "Hey, that's what you want." So that's why it's like I'm actually fine with it. It's not a big nitpick. I'm fine with it because it's just one episode. I don't know about a whole movie, but it did stick out. But it stuck out for good reasons, and yeah, I have other nitpick things, but I don't want to say until we get into spoilers because that would obviously give some things away. So yeah, anything else to say before we get into spoilers?
I will just piggyback, Kirkland. You're totally right. The score was absolutely incredible. We're probably talking about the same track, but there's one track specifically that's just probably, it's probably easily right now at least in my top 5 favorite Star Wars tracks of all time. Like, I have a pretty consistent top 3 list, but I could see it working its way in there because it's so good.
Yeah. I hope we're talking about the same scene because yeah, like everything that Ludwig has done specifically for the show, like it's been very unique. It's kind of felt similar, with just like the tone that he has. It's kind of hard to describe without giving some examples, but like in that one scene, it just felt like way different from where we were. It reminded me of like Black Panther, honestly. I know he scored that. I think did he score that film?
Yeah, he went off.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So there you go. It very much felt like that, mixed with some Star Wars in there, and it's great formula.
It reminds me of that meme where it's like John Williams like, "Hey, want to see me write the best soundtrack of all time?" And he's like, "Hey, want to see me do it again?"
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get into spoilers. Kirkland, we had a miscommunication. Now, set your watch for the 25 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Because we are going to throw to our first ad break. And a big shout out. We had somebody, and why we started this, one person a while back gave us a review. Wasn't no 5 stars, a little lower, but he's like, you know what? I wish you guys would throw the ads or let me know because stuff in conversation, which we've tried to do. And he came back this week and changed his review to a 5-star. And he said, you guys are very professional, and I love listening to you guys, and thanks for listening. So that's what we do here. These sometimes ads can be a little loud. It depends on your podcatcher, depends on your headphones, depends on a bunch of stuff. And we also don't choose the ads. You could get a baloney ad. You could get no more political ads. But it's just so funny when I talk to the Ultimate Alliance people. They're like, yeah, we get like drunk driving ads and like political. I'm like, I just got an ad for Popeyes and I'm pretty stoked, you know, like it's nothing like that. So you can do that. Or like I said, on Patreon, if you really don't want ads, there's an ad free version. So go over there and get a whole bunch of other exclusives. You're about to get an ad. And then after this ad, we'll be getting into spoilers. So the ad is happening right now. And we're back. We're about to get into spoilers. So this is your last chance. If you don't want to know about anything in this episode, get out of here. So I'm just going to start off. My favorite thing about this episode is not the whole Jeff Troopers, is not, Grogu sitting on the rock, is not Boba Fett. It's just the fact that we for sure all last week sat around like, oh yeah, we're not seeing this planet probably like the end of next year. And literally they're like, we're going there. And I thought for sure when he put on his map, something's going to happen. He's going to get shot. They're going to lose gas. Something is going to happen and they're not going to get there. Like it's happened every other time in the past. Yeah. And no, we got there and literally we land there and I'm like, okay, they're going to stop Grogu. No, he sits on this fucking rock and then he's vibing off of this. And then in the distance when you hear and see the Slave One, that first 10 minutes was just like, that's when I was just losing my mind of like this literally, and Taylor's right, it did feel like a fanfic. It did very much because this is the first, like all the years, all the decades people have been talking about Boba Fett actually being a badass. This is the first time in canon he's actually ever been a badass because he's just a bitch character who died to a blind Han Solo, but he's not dead. He's back. But that's my biggest applause is that we still have 2 more episodes. I think the next episode is going to be like him getting his team together, and which is fine. And then the finale is going to be like him and his team going to get Grogu back. But I just applaud them because I thought, oh, for sure they're going to stretch this out. And the fact that we got into it, it got my hype. And again, it feels just like there's actual consequences and stakes and a story happening this season. And this season to me is just like, I liked last season, but this to me is just miles and miles. Like, it's not even close to me. They're not even in the same ballpark. I have like maybe one episode last year where I'm like, oh, I could put it in here, but these have been on such a string. So I love that we just got right into the story.
No, 100%. Yeah, I was very surprised when not only were they mentioning that they were going to Typhon, but it just happened. Like it wasn't, oh, we got to pick this person up, we got to find a way to get there or something, and then you'll finally get there probably halfway through next season. No, it was just cutting through all that bullshit, and then yeah, when the players came into play, oh my gosh, I was getting excited.
Taylor, how did you feel Boba Fett. So and same thing. And this is why it was another holy shit thing. I was so convinced we would not see Boba Fett until next year, or maybe not at all, just the way they left it. And they'd done that before. But no, he, like I said, seeing Slave One, that was a moment. Like, seeing him is cool. It's different because, like, at that point, it's like he doesn't have his armor, and it's a guy we've never seen before. I still don't know how I see about seeing Boba without the mask on. I still prefer just keep them. I hope I never see his face again. But what did you feel?
A little sickly.
Well, yeah, he's not looking too good. But what did you feel about Boba Fett officially? He was back already, but he was in the thick of things this time. Oh, right when I throw it to him,
his voice is just so iconic. As soon as he went off, I was like, oh my gosh, I know that voice from Star Wars Battlefront 2, the OG one.
I am beyond ecstatic. So just to again, it felt like fanfic when we got that whole scene of him getting to the planet, and it just seemed like, okay, what's gonna go wrong? He's not gonna land at the temple. He's gonna land far away. It seems like, okay, there's gonna be some delay of him getting to the top or something like that. But no, he instantly got up there, and then sure enough, there's Slave One coming in, and it's like, this feels too good to be true. Like, I'm just feeling like this is Star Wars, you know, in its element right now. And
Slave One gets shot out of the sky as he's about to land.
No, that's not Slave One. That's something else. But I feel like it was just disbelief. At the same time, I was thinking perhaps it's not Boba Fett inside Slave One here. Maybe it's a different character. Obviously, we got that intro scene which showed last season's results with Fennec, and it was tying up with that. So then I figured, okay, you know, we're going to get some kind of connection in this episode about who's dealing with Fennec, and that obviously led to Fennec being with Boba this time around. But him flying down in Slave One was just too good to be true. I looked over at Madison. I was like, Madison, like, do you recognize that ship? You know who that is? She's like, no, I don't. I was like, oh shit. So
I thought Madison was asleep.
No, she was watching it while I was working on this. So I was like, Madison, do you know that ship? And she's like, no. So there's that. But
engagement's off.
Him just I'm deep diving right into Tamura here, because he just stole the episode from me. His score when that popped off just blew my mind. When he was just with his Tusken Raider staff, and he was using his Tusken Raider staff and going ham. Whenever you see Stormtrooper helmets like crack open and break apart, it's just so gritty because you know that hurt a lot, and he's just going to town. But he's just going to town on these stormtroopers, and I love every single minute of it. He's going crazy, and then he looks over at the Razor's Crest, and you're thinking, oh, he's gonna go get his armor, and he gets his armor, and then he comes back, and that whole sequence of him landing with his jetpack, and he just gets that badass look of him standing above the stormtrooper.
And it's a young stunt double that can actually move too, because that was my problem at first with Tamora Morrison. He was like, but then I think, I could be wrong, let me know tomorrow, but I feel like once that helmet was on, it was a younger guy in there moving really fast and really quick, which I preferred seeing.
It looked like he had a bit of a beer belly too.
Yes, but with the armor, even so, we can't get in the middle. We either get the Marshal who's super skinny in the Boba Fett thing, or we get, you know, like a little, but you know, once he gets back into his routine, he'll get in shape.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All his gadgets he was dishing out, like, he, canonly speaking, is around in his 40s, 41, 42 at this time, Boba Fett, so he's definitely still in his prime to be fighting and bounty hunting and stuff.
That's your prime?
In your 40s? Well, Luke was 59-ish in Last Jedi, and he was still prime, so...
I don't think that was the prime.
No, but I think he has a bounty hunter. You're in your 40s,
and
you're genetically bred to be a fighter.
There's a difference, I think, with the Jedi, because I feel like you gain more powers as you get older, or Boba Fett is just like his knees are getting weaker as he get older.
No,
his back
watch those knee rockets.
Knee rockets, yeah. He's been genetically bred.
Those were new, yeah.
So I would say he's definitely got
no,
something
was
over
he?
people.
I thought this one was an unaltered version.
Unaltered in terms of like taking
Speed up.
commands and aging faster, but still.
Yeah, aging fast.
Oh, but he still had all like the superhuman abilities, eh?
Oh, I'm sure he did. Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah,
But
as he walks it back.
He was just so legendary in this episode. Yeah, you said it, Kirkland. His knee rockets, and he was just whipping things out. He had like his
Watch those knee rockets.
pulse gauntlet thing where he punches that stormtrooper in the chest, then it blasts him off, and then he's just popping them. And then he's just the stormtroopers turn and run, and that scene where the stormtrooper barely jumps onto the launch boat and they take off, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I was aiming for the other one." It's just so badass. And again, okay, my last note on Boba Fett, and I'll pass the torch because I'm hogging the screen time. When he says, "I'm just a simple man trying to make my way through the galaxy." Shoutouts to Jango Fett. That was such a brilliant thing for him to drop.
So I'll ask you, Kirkland, because I think I had this where I was hyped to see Boba, and I was excited, and I think I'll get more used to it because we've heard these rumors that they're going to do a Boba Fett spin-off show. We don't know if it's a prequel or a sequel. I hope it's a sequel to this because I really don't want a prequel of him, like, still just watching his armor, you know, like, just, like, when can I get it back? But, like, did you have any problems, like, at first connecting that it was Boba Fett? Because for me it did. Not like I know, okay, this is Boba Fett, but, like, it took me a bit, and even now it's still like, it still necessarily doesn't feel like Boba. I'm not sure if it's because I saw his helmet off or if it's just one of those things of like, we've talked about this for so many years, like the fact like, could Boba Fett be alive? So the fact to actually see it and see him in action, maybe it just hasn't settled in with me like, that's this character, you know? Like I still had these problems like, oh, it's just this actor portraying Boba Fett. But where were you? Were you like Taylor, where you're just completely all in on Boba?
Yeah, I found it to be a little cheesy, like when he was first introduced, of just like old man Logan sort of thing, where he's just got he doesn't have his armor anymore. He's just got like his dark robes and the staff, and he's just all philosophical now. Yeah, like he's just. I found some of his quotes a little cheesy and stuff, but definitely when he got the armor back on, it's, as you already mentioned, it's a side of Boba that we just never seen before. Him actually just being a badass, not just looking cool from afar, like actually, you know, kicking ass. And yeah, like the action scenes were they were awesome. We got to see some gadgets and stuff that he's never used before. And I knew as soon as he got his armor, I knew we were going to see that back rocket thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, it's going to happen no matter what. And then, yeah, as soon as they were running off, I'm like, here it comes. Here it comes. It's coming. Here it comes. And then sure enough, he did it. And yeah, it was great.
That's 3 in 1 season too, because we got it with, what is the Marshal's name again?
Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth, and then Mando did it, and now he did it.
And in the original trilogy, we didn't get a single use of it, did we? And then in the prequels, I think it's like one use, and it was a miss, wasn't it? If I remember correctly. I think in the Clone Wars.
He didn't use it. He didn't. In the Attack of the Clones, he uses it, and he misses. Or Jango uses it against Obi-Wan and misses. Boba never uses his rocket in the original trilogy.
Right.
They didn't have the budget for that.
Yeah.
It was the 80s. They still didn't figure that part out.
Yeah, but so it was definitely cool to see that, and I really liked the team up. I always kind of thought Fennec was sort of a cringy, cheesy character in my eyes. Just some of her lines were kind of eye-rolly for me personally. But I like the pair up. I think it's a good usage of bringing back a character that didn't get too much, I don't know, room to shine in the first season. So I'm excited to see how she interacts with when we bring back Bill Burr and that crew. So it'll be fun to see this motley crew and what they can do.
I'm surprised Boba didn't bring back what's his name? Toro Tallahan, yeah.
Oh, Toro Tallahan.
Looks like you're stuck with me, Boba.
Another wretched soul on Tatooine that needs to be saved.
I don't know. That guy does not need to be saved. He needs to be imprisoned. And then I guess we had like the confirmation of, I guess Jango now is a Mandalorian. He was a foundling, right? So So it's interesting because now we have like 2 versions of, and this is what I like about like when we see Boba and Mando side by side. It's like, yes, it's cool because you're almost getting like seeing the past generation of Mandalorian with the future generation in a sense of just like our content, not in the timeline. But it's also interesting because now he's met 2 characters that are completely different. He meets Bo-Katan, who is a part of a different Mandalorian culture, and, you know, take your helmet off, stuff like that. Where I don't know about Boba's helmet, you know, expertise, but he is very equivalent to what Mando is like, or at least Jango, which turns into him, right? So it's like he has a lineage of being a foundling associated with it. So it's interesting, and I feel like they're going to play at that more in the future, because I think these next 2 episodes were going to be more about just getting Grogu back, but I think these 2 are... It's very interesting that now this season he's met 2 type of Mandalorian characters with different personalities and different backgrounds. So I think they will play in that in the future. What were you two giggling about over here, huh?
Nothing, sir.
Did I drop or something? Or was I gone?
No.
What was happening?
I don't know 100% what Taylor's laughing
I
at.
don't know what he's laughing at either.
Oh my god. So Taylor, what do you think about, because that's always been a debate about were they Mandalorian or not. Because it's kind of weird because George didn't have any input on this, so I always thought they'd just leave that question unanswered. I don't think we needed it answered, but we got it, so there you go.
I always never saw any reason.
That's a James Bond title. Always never.
I was not too concerned with his origins, I guess you could say. To me at least, I always found that Jango was a Mandalorian, and I know that they tried to like sugarcoat parts of his origins, and there was the one episode of the Clone Wars where the corrupt politician, I can't remember his name on Mandalore, but he states that he doesn't know how Jango Fett got the armor, and that Jango Fett is just a terrorist or something like that, not Mandalorian whatsoever. But obviously, again, he was just an evil dude who you couldn't trust his word. He was just an evil politician, but in this sense, we got confirmation, 110%. He fought in the Mandalorian Civil Wars. He is a foundling, and whether or not you want Boba Fett to be a Mandalorian, I think that's up to interpretation and perspective. Again, we've learned that it's a creed, and he is technically a Mandalorian heir and inherited that armor from his father Jango, which is the same thing how Bo-Katan said that she inherited her armor from her parents or her family, I guess you could say, her heritage. So, I mean, I'd say they're Mandalorians. I think that's awesome. A lot of people might be peeved because there's so many people out there that are like, Jango's not a Mandalorian, yada, 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 hoo, hoo, hoo. And so it'll be interesting to see how they kind of like feel now that that's changed.
Taylor, this is like going to be a curse on our podcast because I'm so happy with this gear. We're figuring out how to do the video version. If you go watch the video version, it looks all nice and we're changing it up, getting to use that full 1080. But now Taylor has used a picture of Arthur's dad from Aquaman of the lighthouse keeper. I hope Dylan's watching somewhere. Tamora remembers him as. And the thing, can you make Tamora like a little smaller? He's so big on the screen. He's massive.
He's taking up my square.
I can shrink him a little bit.
Oh my God, Kirklin, you got any thoughts about you? Did you care or not about that? Is he or is he not an official Mandalorian, or just as
I feel like it's a question that I wasn't really searching for answers on, like whether or not Jango was actually like a legit Mandalorian. In my eyes, he looks good in that armor, and it was good enough for me. But I'm happy with the explanation. I feel like it could, like if we start to getting a bunch of like other Mandalorians that aren't an actual Mandalorian, I feel like that could just be the fallback like excuse, like, oh, he's the foundling. Okay, we'll just carry on with that. But for now, like we haven't met too many foundlings. I liked it. I feel like it made the significance of that character just a little bit more, I don't know, important. Like if they give him an introduction that way. So I was all for it. And yeah, I'm curious to see if we encounter more foundlings as the show progresses, or in other TV series or whatever they do.
Mm-hmm. So then, like, we kind of go back to the very beginning. I still want to call him Baby Yoda, but Grogu sat on this rock to find his path, and he was, like I said, he was vibing, finding his path.
He was vibing.
Yeah, obviously there's not too much to say there. It's a pretty simple scene. I like that Mando kept trying to get him. He got to push back. I think he did it one too many times. Like, literally, like, the fifth time, he's like, come on. We gotta go.
I thought my stream like fucked up. I thought it like replayed because it was like the exact same walk up that he did, and it was like the exact same explosion. And I'm like,
I swear it was just another take of the same scene, and that's where it's just like, man, sometimes Mando is just such a fucking idiot. Din is such a.
You gotta try. You see more and more imps coming. You gotta get him out of there.
Come on, but literally,
he didn't even say his name either. He didn't even say Grogu. I was like waiting for that. I thought that was gonna be like the moment that like snaps him out of it when he finally says his name, but he didn't even try that. He's just like, come on, kid.
Yeah, and when it's like time number 3 and you're still just getting like spat back out, it's like it's not gonna work. So you better just like fight these guys off. So that was just a little dumb for me. But I love that moment when he like collapses, has a little map, very cute.
Yeah, that's very cute.
Yeah, we got to see lots of Grogu stuff. We got to see once he got captured, he was just force choking the fuck out of stormtroopers and everything like that. Yeah, and that scene was very Robert Rodriguez, the way Moff Gideon was acting, just the type of villains he directs. But yeah, we have Moff Gideon kind of threatening him because he's falling asleep. He pulled the dark saber, and Baby Yoda's trying to get and everything. So lots of good stuff. So you guys talk about that because I have a follow-up question, but it'll take us a kind of different route. So
Moff Gideon, like the way that he was just like, oh wait, like let's just see what happens. I was just getting Sheev vibes like so much. Like he just wanted him to see him like force choke people or something. He's just good.
Trying to turn him to the dark side.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought he was doing at first. I don't know what he was actually trying to do, but yeah, I thought that was a badass scene. And then same thing. Then I get sleepy.
That whole scene again of him just in that cell and he's just going to town on these two stormtroopers. Like I kind of wanted to laugh as badass as it was because like they're just getting their asses handed to him and they keep rushing him to try and grab him, but they can't do shit all. And yeah, they just like getting flipped and slammed into the walls. It was crazy. And Gideon just taunting him with the dark saber, like you're not ready for such tools yet. And it's sleepy time and all that stuff. It was very cool to see the different part of Gideon displayed there, which I really like.
Yeah.
The vibing in the Kini Nui of Bionicle down below, that was super, super cool. I like that. He definitely put his feelers out to one Force user out there. Someone felt something in their pocket.
Yeah.
So
he in his pocket. Oh, my pocket. Yeah, he's definitely not up there for that long, not feeling anything. And I said this to Taylor and Kirklin, I'll throw to you. How do you feel about this prediction of, so we're all speculating of like, who's this Jedi going to be, right? Are we going to get Luke? Are we going to get Cal from Jedi Fallen Order? Are we going to get Ezra Bridger from the Rebels TV show? Are they going to make up a Jedi, whatever it is? My prediction is that to end this season, whoever that Jedi is, they're going to reveal it. I don't think he's going to meet Grogu or Mandalorian, but it's going to show the other side of that and maybe the person vibing. Because I feel like they could easily end this, because I think the season will end with them getting Baby Yoda back and everything will be hunky-dory. But so you could end it with just a big action episode. They're successful. They move on to their next adventure. But I feel like almost like, not, it doesn't have to be an end credit scene, but almost like the episode's over, fade to black, but then you fade in and you show whoever that Jedi is vibing. And I feel like if they do that, it's going to be someone hype. If they're making someone up, then I feel like they won't do that because they'll be like, oh, well, it's not going to be that hype, so we'll just lead with it next year. But if it is like a Luke or if it is like a Cal from Jedi Fallen Order, I feel like they could end it that way. And I think that would leave everybody talking of like, oh, man, like who, especially if it was Luke. Like we all debate if it would be Luke or not, but if it's Sebastian Stan playing a young Luke Skywalker and it's like, whoa, this is crazy. Have you guys seen the photos of Sebastian Stan Photoshop?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some really good ones. There are really good ones right now. Boss Logic he's doing. So, what would you think about that? Do you think we find out who he was connecting with this season? Because we would have said no last week, but we would have said no to this plan and Boba. So now that this episode moved at such an accelerated rate, where do you think?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like leaving it on, like let's say it pans to, and then we get a reveal of who this Jedi is. I feel like if they go that route, it should be someone familiar. It shouldn't just be some random guy that we've never seen before and be like, okay, well, who was that? Especially if we don't see like a robe or a lightsaber, we don't even know that he is a Jedi. So unless it is like a super iconic character, I can't see them doing that. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of like possibilities of who it could be. I have no idea. I really like your idea of like if it does end on a big cliffhanger, just the possibilities of who they could use, whether they do want to bring someone like Cal from Fallen Order. The only thing with like it being a big reveal, I feel like Cal maybe isn't big enough of a character. I don't know, like not everyone's played that game. Maybe they've seen. Who am I looking at?
I don't know if you can see it very well.
It's a little blurry.
Taylor's his what is it, sex pass list or whatever.
I'll pull up all the Jedi that might still be alive for you, Kirkland.
Oh, okay.
But but Taylor, on that list, even if you send to Kirkland, other than Luke Skywalker, is there? Because here's the thing, even with like when you're talking about Slave One with Madison and Boba Fett, Emily was the same thing. Episode 1, where like, did you know who that was? Fuck.
There you go. Oppo Rancis. There you go.
Even
I thought that was from the back. I thought that was like a ponytail.
Even like I said, when Boba just appeared, I'm like, do you know who that is? And she goes, no. So I'm with Kirkland, where maybe I will walk it back that unless it's Luke, I feel like they won't reveal that because there's no other
Yeah.
Jedi on that level. I don't think. Like I don't think
No.
anybody that anyone knows that is dead. Like let's say if they like fucked around and like Qui-Gon Jinn was alive, it's like oh shit. But like and everyone keeps speculating, right? The other big one is Mace Windu. I don't want that, but people have this whole theory that he didn't die on Coruscant, and I just think it's super convoluted if he didn't die, and it's just like where was he the whole
We
time?
got Coleman McGosh.
Coleman McGosh. He sounds like a
The
fucking
last-
bull rider.
The last shot of Mandalorian season 2 is that guy.
Coleman McGosh. Who would have thought Coleman McGosh is back?
Oh my gosh. Like Coneheads.
Taylor, Mr. Always Never, what do you think about that? Do you think we'll get revealed this season before it's ended?
I think it's very, very likely. I'm hesitant on the Luke thing. I could see it being a possibility, but I'm hesitant on it. I'm not going to dismiss it entirely because I think that'd be a horrible idea. I don't know about Cal. I feel like Cal is definitely reserved for video games, and I feel like at the end of the day, Cal...
Why would you say that, though? You could have made the case that Ahsoka was reserved for live action before we heard the rumors this season, right?
You could have, but I feel like
and
EA Star
Cal's
Wars...
an actor in real life.
EA
like,
Star Wars is very different at this point from the canon... Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau Star Wars. I mean, if a Cal were to happen, I think that'd be more like a season 3 or something like in a later adaptation. I don't think they're gonna like dive right into that.
Maybe, but you got to remember that not that we hated the game, but I feel like we're in the minority of tons of other people just loved that game, right? And they might have been like, well, let's find a way. And what if the second game is about getting to this point? What if it's Cal's adventures before he meets them?
It very well could be. I mean, it all depends what their plan is for him. I mean, for all we know, we could get a Fallen Order 2, and it could have Cal dying and then succeeding to another character or something. Like we don't know for sure.
No, that's not gonna happen.
They did that with Galen Merrick in Force Unleashed, where they killed him off. So it's just.
But he has a clone, so they just brought him back.
Yeah, supposedly. Maybe we'll get clone Cal. Who knows? But I personally, like, as far as Jedi go, I definitely wouldn't want to see Cal be the one to take the reins with Grogu. I would prefer an Ezra, but then I feel like Ezra is just as unlikely because I feel like he's slotted for whatever they're gonna do with Ahsoka. So
his story's elsewhere.
Yeah, his
story doesn't. His story wouldn't make sense if he were to show up now. It was supposedly because you heard last week that Filoni clarified that Ahsoka scene and episode might have been before the. Oh, thank you. I'll throw to that point in a second. So, we have. Classic Geekers. No, so they clarified that Ahsoka episode was before the finale Rebels. You heard that, right, Taylor?
This episode of Mandalorian was before the episode in Rebels?
No, Ahsoka's. So, like, when Ahsoka appears like Gandalf the White and she's searching for Ezra, this was before it. So that's where, if she's searching for Ezra, clearly Ezra's still off on his own. So it would make sense for him to show up there, because then Ahsoka would just follow. That's its own show. So
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, look into it. So I don't think it's going to be Ezra. So I don't know. Do you guys have any other predictions or whatnot or anything?
I do feel like at the end of the day, I feel like it's very likely what you're pitching that we're going to see a Jedi or something at the end of this season. I feel like it'll probably be a new Force user. I do feel like it'll be a scene where it'll possibly be, maybe we'll see like some people fighting this guy or something like that, or an alien, and all of a sudden you see a lightsaber extend or whatever, and he'll just like, maybe he'll sense something in the Force and we'll be able to tie it with that scene of Grogu having that moment. And it could be a red lightsaber, it could be some other colored lightsaber, but that's how we'll know. We won't see who it is, but we'll see the lightsaber and we'll know that it's a Force user, like how we got the dark saber ignited at the end of the first season.
So I got a really, really good pitch, and you're going to hear it after this ad break. Okay, so my pitch is, like Kirklin said, if it is someone like a Cal or an Ezra, or just someone that the canon people know, the canon boys and girls know, but the mainstream doesn't, what if it doesn't end with like the Marvel end credit scene? What if it's our heroes are in dire straits about to go down, but because Grogu sends this Jedi's on his way to Grogu, and the Jedi helps make the save to get Grogu out of the situation and Mando. Like, let's say stormtroopers are bearing down, and then all of a sudden, imagine this hype moment of behind the stormtroopers, you just see a lightsaber come through the door, like Qui-Gon style, and melt that door. And it doesn't matter who it is, because at that point, it's just cool that it's a Jedi coming through. I think that could work, because the second you do that with a new Jedi, that person's over, like they say in wrestling moves and in wrestling terms, and that's the thing where right away the person's established. Because even if you don't know this person, it's like, oh, this is the person that Grogu sent a message to. So right away you go, oh,
Yeah.
if it's Cal, Ezra, or if they just make up whatever Jedi Woody, you know, it's Tom Hanks and he's here to kick ass. But I would love it that way. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. I feel like they'd want to build up that, but it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility with these last few episodes. They've been fucking going ham. So Kirk and Patzer, hand up in the chat.
I like these little raise hand options we got.
We almost need it to legit.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really like that idea. I feel like it solves the issue of they want to have this reveal. You know, obviously Grogu reached out to someone, and we don't want to just wait till next season for it. But I feel like that definitely solves the issue of, instead of just having some generic individual and like it being very like anticlimactic of an ending. You throw in some action in there, you throw in some lightsaber effects, and then it gets everyone hype, and you're like, I can't wait to find out more about this character, you know? So
and then if it was Cal, you could do the same thing as Ahsoka. People go play the video game, find a story, because there was reports that came out this week that the Clone Wars viewership on Disney Plus took like a massive spike after the Ahsoka thing.
Oh, wow.
So obviously a video game is a lot different, but even then, Jedi Fallen Order is on EA Play. It's very easy to play. If people can even just go search Cal, whatever, and find his story, whoever it is, you could do that. You could have a whole season, if it's someone we know, a whole year of people doing homework to find out who this person is.
Yeah. No, definitely. I still have this little inkling in the back of my mind that it will be just someone entirely new. Someone that we haven't seen in any other Star Wars mediums before. Just a weird feeling. I can't really explain it, but that's just where I feel like they'll be going with it. And I really like your little pitch there, Travis. Especially we don't have to wait until next season to get, you know, a reveal on some character that we don't really know about. Because if they're not leading out with like Luke's face or someone that we already know, you know, I definitely feel they'd feel let down unless it's tied in with some action.
So when you say someone new, do you mean that it could be someone like what Taylor's throwing out, like the big hair guy, where it's new to this current canon, or would you say new, like it has to be completely, this is a new character they've made, like, or like someone's throwing like Amara Jade, but like maybe they've changed, or like just new to the current canon, or new like this is the first time in every canon this person's been around?
Well, I don't really know any of these other side Jedi characters, so it's new to me. Yeah,
no, so I mean, do you think that's when you mean new, you just, what do you think it could still be someone like a Thrawn that hasn't been brought into canon yet, but they could pull?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
It's someone that hasn't been in any of the mainstream movies before.
Okay.
It could be in Rebels. I don't really know if there's Jedi in there. I've never seen it or anything like that. But honestly, they could even just be like, fuck it, there's just another character that survived Order 66, because we didn't know about Grogu before, and obviously that guy was there in Episode 3. So I feel like they have liberty there but again, if they just keep introducing these other Jedis, they were just, you know, in the shitter when Order 66 happened, they didn't get shots.
Yeah,
I feel like it will get eye rolly.
I already have enough problems with Return of the Jedi and Yoda being like, you're the only one, Luke, and now there's like 10,000 other fucking Jedi.
To be fair, when
not to be fair, I don't care. I don't care.
When you listen to the line,
no.
The last of the Jedi will you be? The last of the Jedi, that could, grammatically speaking, the last of the Jedi will you be? That can refer to a handful of Jedi. The last of the Jedi you'll be. So
we're talking about Episode 8.
So I'm starting to like more canon, and I can get, if we're gonna mix it, that's great. I still don't like the fact that in Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, there were a bunch of other Jedi like Ahsoka around, stuff like that, just not helping at all, just not doing anything. And you could say, oh, they were doing this, but no. The second she finds out, oh, Luke Skywalker's alive, that's Anakin Skywalker's kid, maybe be interesting to go talk to him and help him out, because I've dealt with his father and I could help him out. It's like, that's what I hate about the canon. That's the stuff I still hate about canon, is adding stuff in there. It is kind of retconning, in my opinion, because it is just like Luke was the last Jedi, but it's like he really was in these canons. So that's why I still prefer movie canon. That's why I wish lots of these shows, even this Mandalorian show, you could have fucking done in Knights of the Old Republic era. You could have wrote this some way, maybe not Empire, but you could change some things. So that's still things I'm not a fan of, is like, oh yeah, there were all these Jedi. I'm like, okay, I always feel like it makes Luke a little less special. That's how I feel. And then, we got introduced. We finally saw those Death Trooper, or what were they?
They're Dark Troopers. They are
Dark
badass
Troopers.
droids.
Super generic.
That was the score I was talking about. When they're like basically parachuting down from the ship. Oh my gosh, that score that was playing, I just got so hyped. And I instantly just thought of Zurg from Toy Story. That's who they reminded me of.
Destroy Grogu.
Yeah,
I saw this look on Taylor's face, like clearly you guys weren't talking about the same score thing.
No, mine was Boba. Mine was Boba's theme. It was.
I figured it was since that was like the first thing you mentioned, but they're both good moments. The score is phenomenal, but yeah, that specific one, it just felt like very different from any scores that we had. I don't remember all of them off by heart from like the start of the show to now, but at least season 2, I feel like that was probably the most unique one that I've remembered. So had to mention it. It was just very unique and just really eerie and really creepy, and just shit was going on. And yeah, their look was pretty cool. I definitely thought of Toy Story, so I feel like it took away some of like the scary factor there for me, but they just snatch and grab that little Grogu. That was pretty quick, and harmless.
They took him away, and then Slave One was trying to get him, but he couldn't blow him up. But then also we already talked about the Grogu stuff as far as he was in the containment and everything. But yeah, they got him, and looks like they want to start experiments up again. And that's the thing where I feel like the episode it had a lot packed in it, but it was still like a simple action. Hey, we got to protect the kid, and we didn't save him. Did you guys feel at all about like the way it was filmed, all with kind of maybe the digital camera outside, that it looked a little bit different?
When you brought it up, it reminded me of some things. Like I remember when Fennec was shooting, I think she was about to shoot like the turret guy, because she was like aiming at someone and went from like her point of view to like the turret guy, and then she like the classic action movie where she like looks out from her scope and like, oh my god, and then she gets shot at. I thought that was kind of funny, and there's a couple other moments. I feel like it was in that same firefight. There's just a lot of what you described. So yeah.
And the only other thing was, I felt that like I'm kind of like Kirklin in the Ahsoka episode, that I wasn't a big fan of the terrain. I liked the upper mountain where her Grogu was, but then the rest of it down there, literally, like sometimes I know they go to woods or forest or something and they shoot and they mask it, and that's fine. But this literally just felt like almost somewhere we have in Kelowna.
Oh,
This felt like and that's what I didn't like, because it didn't feel, to me, for a Jedi temple, it should feel mystical, and that's one thing you think about where Luke is in Last Jedi. That island's off on its own, the waves, it's so beautiful, it has these unique designs and hills, and it has a character to itself. The little Grogu like temple part, that had some character, but everything else literally just felt like a hill somewhere. So I think that could have, like I said, it wasn't a huge, it's a nitpick, but it didn't feel like an ancient Jedi temple. It just felt like, okay, this is somewhere in Hollywood where there's no cars.
Yeah, and like that, I feel like that was one of the biggest things for me, making it feel like a fan fiction film, was that the scenery, it didn't feel like Star Wars in the same fashion of, okay, this is what I'm used to seeing in Star Wars. This was like something that I've walked by, in my own little area here. So I feel like maybe what could have helped against that in my eyes is maybe adding some like little alien creatures. Just like we had porgs on that planet that Luke was on, so that very much felt like an alien world.
There were
so
butterflies.
This one, it just felt like fuck. I did not see the butterflies. I'll rewatch the episode. And
I will remember it flies by Grogu's head, right, Taylor? And he's like looking at it and everything. So yeah, no, but I agree with Kirkland. I think it just needed a bit more character to it for being such an ancient Jedi temple, apparently one of the first. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't know how much other notes I got.
I don't really have anything.
I do want to shout out, as soon as those stormtroopers came into play, it was just really, really cool to see that whole scenario unfold. I love when that platoon leader, I guess you could say, or sergeant perhaps, was just like talking to the guy. The guy's like, there's too much firepower, and he's like, come on, flank, you idiot. And he sticks his head out and he dies. And the sergeant just looks at him.
I thought you would have been all over that one that was like grenade launching, because he looked like at the Clone Wars, like
he was yellow.
Yeah,
he was.
His pants were rising when he saw that guy.
I love my troopers. Clone troopers over stormtroopers, of course.
It's so much like different types of artillery and like firepower that they brought for this little firefight. They were definitely prepared. They had the mortar striker and then like the turret guy. It looked like they. What's the dude with the orange? Is that the captain that you're referring to?
I think he's just a sergeant. That's what I'm referring. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, he had this. I think he said the same thing twice, where it was just like atop that hill. I'm pretty sure he said that more than more than 2 times, and it's just like same thing with the Mandalorian trying to get to Grogu. I just felt like I had accidentally rewound the episode because it was like the exact same thing that he said in like the exact same way, and it seems like the exact same person because they all look alike because they're all stormtroopers. There's a couple scenes that made me laugh in that regard.
That one scene where Fennec pushes down the boulder and the guy on the turret shooting. Now, I feel like I love that scene.
Let me destroy this.
I genuinely had my hopes up, and I was rooting for the guy to shoot through that boulder. But at the end of the same time, I feel like, okay, you know when you're doing a mission and you think you're just supposed to do it this way and you keep dying because you have to do the mission a different way? That was him. He was doing it the wrong way. He had
Us
to, like,
in
exit
Warzone
the
sometimes.
turret. Yeah, us in Warzone. Exit the turret, go around the rock, and then shoot. But that was a
He
great
thought
scene.
he had a health bar. He thought the Rock had a health bar.
Well, Kirklin, you don't rate the episodes, you rate the season, so we'll get back
I
to
do.
you in
Hang
2
on.
more weeks.
I got one more
Oh.
thing to pitch.
Raise
You
your
can
hand,
raise your
sir.
hand. Raise your
Yeah.
hand.
I did raise my
Oh,
hand.
I forgot to lower my hand.
No,
I'm sorry.
yeah, Kirkland. That's why Kirkland lower.
How do you
hand.
guys
We're
feel
gonna
about
have to use.
the Razor's Crest being destroyed?
Yeah, that was a big moment. I forgot
That
about
was a big
that.
moment, yeah.
Well, so one, obviously he might just get the ship back, but Taylor, you being like, well, that ship's in Rise of Skywalker, so that must be the Mandalorian. No, that could just be some other fucker out there.
Well, I'm gonna believe that until now. I mean, come on.
I didn't, so points for me. Hashtag
You
champ.
idiot.
Yeah. Atop the hill. But it's a big moment because to me it just felt like it felt like stakes. Grogu getting captured, people getting shot at, his ship being blown up. It wasn't just one thing, it was several things going wrong, and it felt like an actual defeat. And that's why it makes sense why he has to go back and talk to Cara Dune. He has to get this guy who's going to help him break into the ship. He's going to have Boba and, what's her name, Yinsk or whatever? Yifki or...
Who the fuck? Fennec?
Fennec.
Minsky?
That whole
She's from
crew and
Minsk.
everything like that. So, yeah, I think it was a big moment. I'm interested to see what happens next. I'm wondering if Boba somehow gives him Slave 1. I hope not, but I just wonder.
Yeah, that's a good question
That's a
because
generous
obviously he's
thing.
gonna have to, like, he's not gonna be able to just taxi cabin from planet to planet. He's gonna have to get a replacement sooner or later.
Well, maybe So how would you guys feel, because it goes planet to planet sometimes, they end up in the I was going to say, what if it ends up being the Millennium Falcon somehow, because it ends up on Jakku, but we don't know where it was a little bit before, you know?
Please don't do this.
If they
Please don't
did
do this,
that,
John
I'd be
Crab.
fucking pissed.
Yeah, no, please don't do this. Yeah, because I was gonna mention like the Razor's Crest. It's got a long way to go from being as iconic as Millennium Falcon, but I was kind of getting used to it. You know, used to seeing it. I really thought it was gonna be that ship that just sticks around with the Mandalorian throughout the entire show. So it was very surprising to see it just blow up like that. Yeah, it was cool seeing the Beskar staff survived. I'm really excited to see his what's the staff called that Bo was using?
It's just
You
like
just mentioned
a
it.
Tusken Raider, like bow
Yeah,
staff or something.
Tusken Raider. Yeah, I'm excited to see Mando's moment like Boba was with that weapon. So he'll be smashing some helmets and causing a lot of pain.
And you know it's going to hurt.
So
You know that hurts.
You know it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, you have any thoughts on Razor Crest? Yes.
Yeah, I was really just surprised. It's shocking because I want to buy the Lego set, but not anymore. So it's
Well, it's still his first ship. It's not like it's worthless now.
I guess, but I mean, do I get the Lego set and build it, or I just have it left in pieces because that's
Build
more
it.
accurate?
You build
So-
it and then you recreate the scene.
Yeah.
Just smashing it.
And
Make
it's
sure there's like a
vicious
little,
circle.
yeah, a little Beskar steel.
And
staff in
Madison's
there.
like, why have you been in that room for hours, Taylor? Like, I keep reenacting the scene from chapter 14.
Oh no, it was very sad to see it go. I wasn't expecting that just laser blast to shoot up from that light cruiser and just transcend down.
Just insult to injury.
It was, because like this whole season has been him just dealing with this piece of shit falling apart and just repairing it. He got a brand spanking new. It's like you in GTA, you just get your car decked out and repair at the
Oh,
shop.
and that asshole
then you
outside of the shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
That's the equivalent.
One other thing I wanted to ask, because for me it felt a little funny when Boba was like going up to the Imperial cruiser. It looked like a brand new ship to me. I feel like I had never seen that in any Star Wars mediums before. It was just a different shape. But like that was the moment that Boba was like, "Wow, the Empire is like really back. They're not. Yeah, like they're not gone. It's just like, dude, where have you been? Like we've
On
seen
Tatooine.
we've seen them all over this galaxy. I don't know. Like,
Not
again,
on Tatooine, though.
we're following Mando from his point of view, but fair enough. I just thought it was a little like, okay. But I guess I
Yeah.
guess where he was, he didn't really encounter them, but. I felt like the way that he was describing it, it was like, wow, viewers, look at this, the Empire's back. And it's just like, okay, I've known this since like episode 1, didn't I? Like, I don't know. It just felt a little funny to me. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
It didn't feel too funny, but it felt like a little anticlimactic because, like you said, we've known about this for almost 2 seasons now. So it's like, I guess it's good for him, but it's also just made me think of like, I don't know how much he'd care because I feel like he just said like he's a lone soldier, so like I don't think he should care. Like that was kind of always how he was pitched in the original trilogy, that he's just taking jobs. It's not that he's loyal to the Empire. It's just, look, he went from the Empire working with Vader to working with Jabba the Hutt, so, or like vice versa. So it was to me it felt, and that's where I'm excited and intrigued to see what they do with Boba Fett if they are doing a show, because the Boba Fett in canon, other than some episodes in Clone Wars, there's not much of a character to him, so we don't really know him. So for me, what I feel like I know of Boba, that felt a little out of character, and there are other things that he said that felt out of character. But it's also been 5 years since Return of the Jedi, and I think going through the Sarlacc pit changes a man. So.
Also, quick question: do we know how long he was in that pit?
Nope.
Or no?
We'll find out on the show. I bet he'll talk about it.
His
Long enough
skin's
for his
changed a
face to
little.
get fucked up.
Yeah.
You know they're gonna talk about it, right? He's gonna be like hammering his armor, repairing, and he's gonna have flashbacks of like
the inside of the pit.
Yeah.
Just goo all over him.
No, I don't.
Screaming. That's the next episode. It's just a flashback. Boba in the Sarlacc pit.
So, Taylor, I'm very intrigued by this score because this whole season you gave this crockpile piece of shit statement being like, I'm not giving anything a 5 out of 5 till I feel it's right. Even though he would have given it all 5 out of 5. He just was waiting. But you dropped it last week. So I feel like in your method you can't drop it again.
In my method, I can't. And I put a lot of thought into my review for this, and rightfully so. There is actually one very significant con I have with this episode that really, really bothers me. And for that, I'm actually docking it down to like a 4.8, because it just actually. And
Did you say it topped last week, and last week was a 5?
It topped it, like in its own way for many reasons. But again, there is a con here that I don't like.
No sense.
Plus, it's hard to like really like beat that Grand Admiral Thrawn drop. That's a 5 out of 5 right there. But in this episode, it bothers me, and I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts too. When the Empire is dropping, he does not pick up his jetpack. He leaves it on the ground for the whole battle.
Yeah.
And that really aggravates me, because he could have easily got back up that hill to Grogu and beat the Dark Troopers if he had his jetpack on. It was right behind him on the ground when everyone grabbed their gear to fight the Stormtroopers. So that I just...
Well, Mando's dumb, remember? He's an idiot. He makes these mistakes all the time. It fits with it. At this point now, I'm not even thinking it's a writing inconsistency. They've just decided, hey, this guy's a fucking idiot. So, like, he's smart at sometimes. So this is actually pretty consistent. But, yeah, I don't know if it's enough for me to dock even a 0.2. But if whatever bugs you. So it didn't. I get what you're saying as far as I did multiple times go, why doesn't he have it back? But clearly it was just to set up that he was just so concerned with everything going on, he didn't even think about his jetpack. That's how I took it.
He had to do like a 5-minute hill sprint to get back to where he was. Probably like halfway up. He's like, damn it, I could have just put on the jetpack.
He probably ran past his jetpack, to be honest. It was in that same general area.
He should have went to Grogu and got himself blasted off so he could get back to the jetpack.
Yeah.
That's what he should. Spring me. I will give this episode a 4.5. Last week I gave it a 5. All my 0.5s are the nitpicks where I felt sometimes, like I said, the camera felt a little too clean, a little fan filmy. I liked it being a little dirtier like last week, like Ghost of Tsushima style, or even just the rest of the series. So I think Rodriguez style, I was happy to see it because I'm happy to let Disney just let someone just run wild and do their style. But I don't think it ruined the episode or anything, but I think at times it didn't exactly mesh. But that's fine. It was cool to see, and like I said, the planet didn't feel exactly too unique, and that took me out of it a few times when the fights were going on. So a 4.5 for me. Anything else or no? So I guess I should have promoted this. We are about to record. It'll drop later on in the week, but on Patreon, so you can get it earlier. We're about to record our Video Game Awards preview predictions. Dale Musk is going to be on that, and then the next 2 weeks we got Mandalorian, and then soon we'll have a bunch of other shows. So Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Like I said before, all links are down below. And until next time, it will not be boring. And may the force be with you.
Always.
Always.
I did not restart my 25